Blessings, blessings, blessings to everyone, each and every one of you. Happy New Year. Happy Kwanzaa. Hey, thank you for coming in, tuning in to Vino Entertainment TV, where we are based on firearm violence, domestic violence, molestation, and yes, we do feed the unfortunate. And we are always in the community. The Vino team members are always in the community giving love, peace, donations, and we're always feeding. Hey, while you at it, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. You know, go ahead and share this live, for anybody that you may know that's in a domestic violence abusive relationship. It can be a man or a woman. Domestic violence goes for both ways. Domestic violence is not racist. It has no boundaries on your age, on your age, the color. You know what I'm saying? If you got kids, if you're single in a relationship or married, it has none of that. You know what I'm saying? But I just want to start out by saying that do what makes you happy. You know what I'm saying? That comes with positive energy. You're worthy of happiness. You know what I mean? And that also comes along with confidence. Confidence is a game changer. And you're like, why is she saying this? And it's about domestic violence. Because you have to make yourself happy. Because if you don't, when you're in an abusive relationship and you got kids, your kids would feed off of you. And people would know the change. You know what I'm saying? This is why I say that. This is why. This is why I say that you have to make yourself happy. And it comes with positive energy. You know what I'm saying? Because you're worthy of happiness, man or woman. You know what I'm saying? Give yourself some confidence. When you give yourself that confidence, and that's going to be your main game changer, you're going to move, dude. You're going to move. You're going to move something. I promise you. And what I mean by that, enhance your personal and professional life with some confidence. It don't come with age. You know what I'm saying? If you really, really take action, you know what I'm saying? And with that action, enhance it. You know what I'm saying? Move forward. Make a plan. You know what I'm saying? Tell someone. You know what I'm saying? Figure some signs out to show when you're being abused. I heard someone say flicker light switch. But domestic violence is a serious threat for many women and men. And when you forgive the abuser, it usually happens again and again and again. And guess what? What happened? It gets worse and worse. Perp has been in a abusive relationship. So please don't think that you're by yourself, and don't be ashamed. Because over here, we don't shame, bully, or put no one down. That is a no-no. That's something that we won't go for. A few signs that I just want to let you know about, when they're calling you out your name, insulting you, and putting you down. Controlling how you spend your money. Your money you went and work for, and somebody trying to tell you how to spend your money. You know what I'm saying? And where you go, and what you were, and always accusing you of cheating. You know, even they may be trying to be possessive. They might want to threaten you. And then what gets me the most, they started blaming you for all of their faults. And then they want to start striking you. And then when they start striking you, they want to apologize over and over all the time. We done heard it before, but you still doing it, you know? And when that don't work, well, I'm going to give her some gifts. Make her feel better. Forget about what I've done. How? I got marks on me. They start giving you gifts. So I want you to know this is a repeat cycle when these things happen. Create yourself a safety plan. Just said, you got friends that's not in your circle that don't really know him, but just know what you said and told. Get one of those friends. Tell somebody who's not in the same circle that your husband is in or your boyfriend is in, that, you know, somebody that you know may be in. You know, move in silence, you know. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple of numbers here. Get your pen and piece of paper if you need to. I don't mind, because I'm going to have this up for just a second. To get help, if you are a victim of domestic abuse, call this National Domestic Violence Hotline, please. It's 1-800-799-7233. Or you can call the National Sexual Assault Hotline, 1-800-656-4673 to get help. Now, if you know someone who's deaf and needs help, here's a deaf crisis line for video phone, 321-800-3323. And if you're trying to move in silence and somebody's around you, the abuser around you, go ahead and text 839-863. 839-863. You know what I'm saying? You can find more resources online. You know what I'm saying? You can. And here's another text number for domestic violence, 88788. Now, domestic violence hotline is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they have any language that you need an interpreter for. They are there to help. And that's what they're there for. You know, if your accuser need counseling, go ahead and get them some kind of counseling if they're willing to make a change. But if they're not willing to make a change and they're just telling you that to keep you hush-hush, you keep on moving. And guess what? Plan for your safety if you're not being hurt or in danger. Plan for safety, your safety mode. What you gonna do? Because no one deserves to be hurt. Nobody. If you want to make a change, go ahead and give him some counseling. Go ahead and get involved in counseling. If you got kids, you all, the whole family, get you some counseling. Go ahead and do it. You know, I praise a person who admit what they've done and want to work on it. Again, here this number is again. You know, in case you need to go get a pen. You. Yeah, you in those bushes. You write these numbers down. So one day, or even if you may know someone who might need these numbers, you can be a friend and give a helping hand and give these numbers out. These are the numbers to the National Domestic Violence Hotline or the National Sexual Assault Hotline. And they do have the crisis hotline on there for someone who's deaf, if you know someone, and because they can do video phone calls. And you can also text if you're around someone you can't really talk right then at 839-8363. Again, 839-8363. I'm going to leave it for a little bit longer, but I'm going to continue to talk. Domestic violence happens usually around the age of 15 to 44. Domestic violence abusers It's not, like I said, a current boyfriend or a husband or someone you just being started dating. You know what I'm saying? It could be one of them. Now we must not forget, again, like I said, men also get abused. I've seen it firsthand. You know, domestic violence, most occurrence are not likely to be reported because we think that, oh, he's going to stop. He said he's not going to do it again. But guess what? Each and every time you say he's going to stop, he's not going to do it again, it gets worse and worse and worse. And you know what? Domestic violence do not come with color. Domestic violence is in our cultures and also educational backgrounds. You know, we have this saying, you know, what stays in our house, what goes on in our house stays in our house. And why do we say that? When the mother's getting abused at home, the kids getting abused at home, but they're going to school. They're not saying nothing, but they're being abused. And the mom is too scared to say anything because, first of all, she has no communication because our cell phones have been taken away. She can't talk to nobody. He's going to make sure of that. He's going to make sure you can't talk to anyone. So that's why they gave a text number to text if you can't speak at that present time. So we should say that very lightly. What goes on in our house stays in our house because the mother may not be able to get out to notify no one about being abused. But the kid can because the kid is being in communication with other kids, the teachers, and things of that sort. You know, they can talk to a counselor, tell someone, a listening ear. You know what I'm saying? So don't say that too much about what goes on in our house stays in our house. You know, that's not really too cool because, like I said, it can go anyway, and that can be your help out. You know, and don't you take the blame for any of the abuse that you're getting. Back in 1994, the Congress passed the Violence Against Women's Act law. And then came along, good old Bill Clinton back in 1995. He established the Violence Against Women office in the Department of Justice. So there's people out there trying to help us. Reason why I said us, because I've been in domestic violence. There's people out there trying to help. People like you and me, or friends who's been in domestic violence. You know, be a friend and lend that ear. Be a friend and give them a safe haven place to go to if needed. You know? And you just never know how much help you will be to her, and maybe to her and her kids. Y'all know how we feel when we get our kids. We be mama bears. Come on now. We want nothing but the best for our children. Nothing but the best. Come on. Even I myself. Nothing but the best. You know? Tonight, Purpose going to do something a little different. You know? I'm going to now start sharing videos here and there on some stories. And I wanted to share this story with you all. I'm going to show the whole video because I believe the whole video is going to be useful, resourceful, and it will tell you about a few organizations, and it will show you women who overcame domestic violence are now have organizations and giving out advices and have a lot of resources they can give to share with women like you, men like you. You know what I'm saying? Or if you know someone, you know. But let's go ahead and get this video started, please, if you don't mind.
in June 2014. After more than a decade of abuse, she was fleeing her violent partner, had checked into a local women's refuge. But instead of finding the safety she hoped for, there was only... Just a few days after she arrived, a drive to pick up her daughter from school.
That's when Mark comes up behind me in the black Commodore.
Sandy's partner was on the hunt for her when he spotted her car.
I just wanted to get away from that.
Another driver, Sam Goodall, was travelling behind Sandy.
He's pushed her off to the side of the road a bit and tried to stop in front of her.
On that and the brakes.
I noticed that she was quite stressed out and she was signalling to me, call someone or help.
Ring the cops, do something, ring the police.
Sam tried to intervene, blocking Mark's car so that Sandy could get away. But her former partner... finally ramming her, catapulting her away, the car rolling 2.5 times.
After all the other times I gave Mark plenty of chances because I thought that there was something worth holding on for. But for him to do what he did that day just showed a total disrespect for me. He doesn't love me. And the man that I loved a long time ago, and he's been replaced by a monster who lives in his skin. That was the hard thing, was to look at him like that and realise that it's not my Mark anymore.
Disrespecting women does not always result in violence against women, but all violence against
Australia's Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull is putting domestic violence at the top of the national agenda.
Violence against women is one of the nation's failure, the national disgrace.
One of the world's wealthiest countries, beneath its shiny facade, lies such an ugly secret. One that pervades all walks of life.
The statistics are staggering. 1 in 4 women experience domestic violence from an intimate partner. 500,000 witness it, and every year...
I think we do focus, and as we should, on deaths, because that is the ultimate in domestic violence. But there would be hundreds of death experienced every day in Australia.
The government has pledged more than $70 million to help tackle the crisis. But what causes domestic violence, and what needs to change to stop it?
He was nice, funny, considerate. He was a really nice guy, really nice guy.
Sandy was barely out of her teens when she met Mark Burt and fell in love.
Their firstborn, Ashley, proud dad.
But 3 children later, Sandy's loving disappeared.
When I was going through abuse with Mark, I used to think quite often, how did we get here? Start.
According to Sandy, things changed in 1999 when Mark hurt his back and could no longer work, Sandy becoming his full-time carer. But reading between the lines, it seems there were problems from the start.
He was always very controlled, being at home. That's one reason why he liked us being on the farm when he was working. He always knew that I was at home, that he knew where I was.
Did you feel like you couldn't go out?
Yeah, and not without asking permission to.
Domestic violence cases, Sandy began to challenge his control. The relationship deteriorated dramatically.
I was just getting... I got to a stage where I didn't like the constriction on my life anymore. I don't trust me. I started to stand up for myself more. He would get so annoyed with it. And of course, then in anger, he would lash out.
The first time Mark hit, he smashed her teeth and gave her 2 black eyes.
What we have to understand is that that person has always been violent. It's about power and control. It's about something that changed that he wasn't happy with, that changed, that made that violence become worse.
That first time, he was remorseful after. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do it. All that kind of thing. And he bought me flowers and gifts. The second when it happened, his attitude afterwards had changed. Instead of being remorseful or whatever, he was, we deserve.
And so began the psychological conditioning. As happens to many victims of abuse, Sandy started to believe him.
I've viewed it as my fault a little, because I did provoke Mark, and I shouldn't really, because I know.
As their son Aidan tells us, there was a new partner in their relationship, the methamphetamine ice.
Worse once he started using drugs. It went from, just yelling at you to, and just smacking you every now and again to beating you, and hurting mum really bad and stuff like that.
A drug does not make him do that. A drug just takes away the rest of the guilt that goes with it.
On occasions, Sandy was literally tortured into submission.
He dragged me out of the car and pulled the gun out of the back and put it under my chin and said, "This is it. This is what you're going to get. If you don't cut it out, you won't do as you're frickin' told."
Such acts of psychological terror left no visible evidence of trauma, but the punches and objects thrown at her have left permanent scars.
That is from a mobile phone. Good shot, eh? Split like a watermelon. Unbelievable. God, the pain.
Sandy's children may have maintained appearances, but the torment was taking its toll on them too.
Did you ever worry,
Sometimes I thought that if it was, we were all going to die as well. And because he always used to say that it was going to take our lives. And then mum's and then his all the time. So, yeah.
Emily, she used to always go to her room and always cry about it and stuff. I'd come in there and sit with her and tell her it's all right. My mum would be all right. She can take it.
Sandy wasn't the only victim. Her son Aidan says his father would beat him with the belt and lock him in the bathroom just for biting his fingernail.
Check if I did or if I didn't, he'd still give me a flogging for it and put in the bathroom and sat there.
For how many years did that go on?
I remember sitting in that room for about 7 years.
Aidan says he was only let out to go to school and to do chores.
I remember that room like the back of my hand. I remember counting the tiles on the floor a million times.
We hear of that quite often, and children have been left in bedrooms only coming out for short periods of time, almost from birth. And we've had children where, they've got to 2-3 years old and can't walk and talk because the father has kept them, and that is a way of keeping the mum there.
In late 2013, fearing for her life after Mark had performed, He made a 000 emergency call to police. But by the time they arrived, Mark was already home and convinced them there was nothing wrong. Sandy was too terrified to speak out in front of Mark.
Why they didn't separate us, God only knows. It's the first thing that they do.
So
So
really,
you get a chance to talk.
if you'd had a chance that night,
I would have told them what was going on. I would have said, well, guess what? You better get me the hell out of here because he has just stabbed me in the back of the leg with a knife. When he first opened the door, he's holding the doorknob with the hand and they can't see it. And I'm sort of in the mode of like, if I say something, then he's gonna lurch at me. And he keeps saying, I'm not going to. I'm just going to keep playing the game with Mark and be compliant. The reason why
After Mark moved the family to a remote property.
because of 000 incident, we were here, they didn't know where we were.
Out here, the violence escalated to the point where Sandy left the family home and
Like that is, you can't tell other people. You just not actually say the words.
Women do actually feel judged, you feel shame, they're scared of the future. So it's vital for the very first person that a woman tells about her domestic violence that she's believed and that it's validated, because that might be the only opportunity that that woman has.
The policewoman Sandy spoke to convinced her to take out a restraining order, not allowing Mark in. But as often happens, within weeks, Sandy was back with Mark and the kids.
Lonely. I didn't like being away from the kids and not what was happening. Yeah, I could oversee the maybe this like didn't come anywhere, children.
But the violence only got worse. A few weeks later, Mark drove Sandy to an isolated rest area late at night. Here he put a noose around her neck and threatened to hang the tree.
I was standing on my tippy-toe hold on and I was screaming at him, Mark, like, stop. Yeah, and then he decides that that's enough. Taught her a lesson.
Rope became Mark's weapon of choice, but next time he would be a witness to the horror.
In the house, and Mum and Dad have been at each other all day.
He had hit me a few times with this wooden bar. Wasn't satisfied with that, so he grabbed a small extension cord, and I was on the end of it, and he was whipping me across the back.
And then Dad told her to come over to the shed. I remember seeing Dad tying something to his ute. Neck.
And he says, "Oh, you run to the car. That's up. Come on, see you run. Come on, dog."
Oh, she's gonna die. I was like, I don't want to be here for this. Write a note on the piece of paper and said, "No." Oh.
An anonymous emergency call reporting was that afternoon, but it was 2 days before the police responded. Mark was arrested, held overnight, and fined for breaching the restraining order. Sandy sought protection in a refuge, but just a week later, Mark ran her off the road. On the other side of the country, in the state of Queensland, police are working to close the gaps in the system that leave victims like Sandy vulnerable. They're trialling a specialist domestic violence unit. Renee Shaw is herself a survivor of domestic violence.
I often use my experience to encourage women to speak, and I'll say, look, this is what's happened to me. So we were working, you can share that, and you can share the experience not only with the victims that you deal with, but also your fellow colleagues, to say, you know, please don't say, why doesn't she just leave? Because this is why.
The officers meet regularly to discuss the most serious case and work out a comprehensive plan of action to keep victims safe.
So what sort of injuries did she have?
She had been whipped, beaten with hammers.
Okay.
There was a lot of injury in the body that didn't contain a bruise.
The woman they're talking about had been abused for 18 years. In high-risk cases, restraining orders have limited effect, according to Acting Superintendent Glenn Allen.
If someone's intent is to do harm or kill, maim, torture somebody, I don't think a domestic violence is going to stop it. However, it provides us, as the police service, an instrument can prosecute to criminal offence as well. And that often means that we have to get a complaint from the victim, which is often hard. So where the cases are severe, we've taken that onus off the victim and just take action.
At the same time as taking a tough stance, the new approach is to work with all parties.
What we've seen is if we can work with the family, and in cases work with the perpetrator, we're going to stop the re-victimisation of the woman in most cases. And if we can work with the perpetrator to stop his behaviour, then we're going to see less repeat calls.
Stand by. All right. Sound, camera, marker.
Jerry Redford passionately believes it's possible to change the behaviour of perpetrators, and he's living proof of it.
What are you doing?
I'm going out with Julie.
Why are you dressed like that?
Like what?
Yeah, when you're going out with your mates for lunch, looking like a whore.
For me, what I've seen go in manifesting in anger, violence, and rage is one of the sort of causes of violence and abuse in a relationship. Having to be right, having to be in control, having to have power.
And maybe that's a parting shot, is that your hands around her throat.
You know what?
Now making educational films with a strong violence. Some of the scenes are uncomfortably close to Jerry's own past behaviour.
The worst point was the realizing that I could actually really hurt my wife physically, putting a hand around her throat and holding her against the wall and screaming at her and letting her go and walking away, and her saying, like, you nearly strangled me, or you were strangling me then, and turning around and saying, I should have stabbed you. In retrospect, feel how frightening that rage is. You never want to go there again. It is the most terrifying, out of all place to be. It became a stain. And the more I did it, the worse it became.
Jerry's marriage eventually ended. He later enrolled in a 6-month program for perpetrators, but stayed for 2 years and faced up to the hard truth that he alone was responsible for his violence.
What's going on with the bloke in there? The bloke. Yeah?
No, I can't use it. Makes me feel.
Jerry conveys in his that perpetrators stop others for their behaviour.
Okay.
What's magical is the moment that I take responsibility and say, wow, I feel vulnerable or I feel uncomfortable. I can then realize that it's my choice to make.
Why should domestic violence?
Jerry's adamant punishment must be combined with help and support for violence to stop.
The system today is flawed because in putting a restraining order in place, yes, we're protecting people, and that's really important. And that would have been necessary then for my partner then. Absolutely. It wouldn't have helped me stop what I was doing because it wouldn't address the core behavior and it wouldn't address the feelings and what's going on underneath that behavior. And all we're doing is moving violence from one relationship to another. It's really politically unattractive to offer support for people that use violence. But until that's done, I don't think nothing's going to change.
You know what? Stop ya.
I've taken off as quick as I and then they collide.
Captain Park.
Said he's just made me really angry.
There wasn't any sense of remorse.
No, and I was hoping to see from him. But, I never did at the time. No.
Mark told police it was an accident caused by him leaning over to wind down the window. But the video showed the truth and became vital evidence, as did Aidan's testimony of seeing his mother being pulled behind the truck.
Husband charged with 20 offences, 17 for breaching a restraining order and 2 for intending to do harm, which each is. But violence
Plea bar struck. Mark pleading guilty on all counts. Sentence in prison with parole after 3, Mark could be free as early as mid-20.
This is a joke. This bloke, he tried to kill me. That was his whole thing that day. He knew not to approach me, was not allowed. Didn't care. He wanted that day to do.
There was very little insight into the actual depth of the violence and the extreme terror that that woman had felt and experienced over that period of time. That wasn't reflected in the judge's comments or in the sentencing. And knowing that, had been Marianne, the rose garden that we planted here
In front of the ref and more runs, the flourishing river. So was a woman or child the refuge helped, but whose life was still domestic violence.
I just am astounded at the extent of the violence that we witness every single day. It is a national disgrace.
We think of it's just the man bashing the woman, but it's a lot more than that. A lot more. It's a destruction of the family.
Free of oppression, Sandy Wolf is now reclaiming her life and looking to help other victims by speaking out. Duffy and her violent past for years to come.
I don't ever want to be like my old man. I'm totally different on. If I have kids, I want them to have a great childhood. Grow up to love their dad, not resent them.
Well, you know what I mean. Not actually, not like grandpa, but
Yeah, I was worried about I was going to follow my mother's footsteps because I've always been just like my mum. But I hope I don't get a relationship like that though.
it's such a daunting thing to just walk out the door with nothing, but it can be done. And it's not that you have nothing. You walk out with your life. You walk out with an inner strength that you end up finding and a peace, finally. You don't have to put up with that kind of treatment. That's not a love. That's not how love is to be. Love should be unconditional. And when someone starts putting conditions on you, they don't love you.
Okay. Well, I hope this video explained a lot and did a lot for a lot of people in the chat, or if you know someone who needs some help. Like I said, there's numbers that I did provide. So I hope you did write those down and you can share those with someone who really needs some help. You know, it can be hard. It can be really hard. She finally picked up the phone to call 911. And I'm like, what took her so long to call 911? Took her forever. But guess what? That first step was an effort. She didn't give up because she found somebody. She told somebody. And then she went to someone where she can get restraining orders and get some kind of help for herself. Don't hang around people who's in a domestic violence relationship, like friends, families, homies. Domestic violence term is used when there is close relationship between offenders and victims. Don't let them invade your privacy, and don't let them control you. And don't let them think that you don't have any feelings, because they're going to be judgmental towards you regardless. Like I said, there was family violence programs, resources, organizations that you can contact and get you some kind of help. Please, get some kind of help.
Boy got the full body C-Rag out. What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass that like stocking. Just joshing. I'm spending this holiday locking. My body got rid of them toxins. Sports in the topic. I can put the ball in the end zone, put a bet friends on. This shit sound like an intro jet song. Give me that tempo. So cool, get fool with the shit. Told her don't let her friends know. In the building, I move like a dime. You better cheat me, Vincenzo's. I like to call it a passion. I can be sitting relaxed. PG, we getting some traction. I'm at the views packing. I'm taking her exit. I got a pretty Simon on me, and she tryna get it unfastened. That's my type of distraction. That's my type of she Latin. Got my flow and I'm about to get a patent. Brand new sheets for the bed they satin. Y'all was tuned in back in. That's why they keep jacking. I ain't doing no verse, quit asking. What's poppin'? Brand new whip, just hopped in. I got options. I can pass that like stocking. Just joshing. I'm spending this holiday locking. My body got rid of them toxins. Sports in the top 10. I can put the ball in the end zone, put a bet friends on. This shit sound like an intro jet song. Give me that tempo. So cool, get fool with shit. Told her don't let her friends know. In the building, I move like a dime. You better cheat me, Vincenzo's.
Okay, you all, let me just say this one more time. On the website, there's many sites there to check out. You know what I'm saying? They educate you on domestic violence, and there's a lot of outreach programs. You can call different organizations for help. There's the American Bar Association. There's a Better Women for Justice Association. There's Child Welfare for League of America, Future Without Violence, and National Domestic Hotlines. Y'all try those hotlines, okay? And I want you to know there are domestic violence attorneys as well. You know, if you need one, get you one. You know, you might also can find some resources at 211 here in Texas. That is Department of Human Services. You know, let me just go ahead and put that out there. And we have a guest here, which is Perp. He want to give us a few things about domestic violence.
Hey, how y'all doing today? You know, I was just listening to a lot of Perp. She had a lot of good points, you know, about domestic violence and how it affects people in different ways and about the help you can get, about the mental aspect of all this. And I just wanted to bring a small angle to this about the children, you know, the effects of the children, you know, people that have children, you know, and I have an abstract theory here that says witnessing violence in general has been associated with emotional behavior and learning problems in children, with children's susceptibility affected by development level, chronically of exposure, physical closeness to the incident, and emotional closeness to the victim. On the basis of these parameters, one may conclude that witnessing violence between a parents in a particularly insidious event is a particularly insidious event. It is most likely to occur in the home, the one environment generally associated with safety and protection of the child. It is not surprising, therefore, that exposure to marital violence has been associated with a variety of problems in children. Issues on this topic discussed in the chapter include a lot, you know, it's a lot of different things that, like dealing with children, that's the future there. If you don't do nothing else, sometimes we gotta start just not always looking at any situations, not just looking at the problem. Sometimes somebody have to have a solution there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes solution making can alleviate a lot of just small misunderstandings and mishaps too. And another thing to advocate is communication. You know, if you have a problem with something, each person should be comfortable to sit down and talk about that. You know, if they care about what they have grown, what they have built together. You understand what I'm saying, Perp?
Yeah, I understand. I'm with you. Let me just go ahead and say that I know in Dallas, Texas, they have domestic violence units who respond to domestic violence. You know, they have a team like sergeants, detectives, crime analysts. They have counselors. They also created this unit back in 1987 for all women's and men's, you know, for different organizations to deal with, you know. They also may have the same thing in your city and state, you know. Go ahead and find out, you know, what's going on in your city and state to get you some help with domestic violence in, like I said, where you live at. Because like I said, domestic violence is not your fault. It's the abuser's fault. You know what I'm saying? Also in Dallas, they have task forces. They have lawyers, like I said, for domestic violence. Even at Parkland Hospital, they have Better Women intervention projects and for area, and they also have areas for women's shelter. So, you know, get you some help. You know, they have 4 factors that contributes to domestic violence, like individuals, relational, community, social factors, you know, and there's so many more things that we can do to protect ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Find out, like I said, find your friend who's not a friend, that's not in your social circle. You know what I'm saying? That you can trust, who can be your ear. You know what I'm saying? Who can be your partner that you can move with and move to on silence in case of a domestic violence. Someone who understands you got your kids, if you got kids, to come along with you when you're trying to move in silence in domestic violence. And you have people that don't like people who abuse other people. And I am one of those people as well, even though I have been abused. You see what I'm saying? So get you a method, get you a plan, you know, work it out. You know what I'm saying? If you got an older kid at 16, 17, you know what I'm saying? Get with them, tell them what the plan is, you know what I'm saying? Especially they seen you been getting abused and they getting abused too. They're going to be down with their mama bear. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be down with mama bear. I promise you they're going to be down with you. Is there anything else probably want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, just a little bit more here. It says, even though survivors may experience similar types of abuse, the response to trauma may vary from person to person. Many factors can influence how a person responds to short and long-term effects of the abuse, such as the frequency of abuse incidents, degree of severity, and effects on physical health. The overall impact of domestic violence also depends on the individual's natural reactions to stress and ways of coping with stressful situations. Only factors can include age in which the trauma occurred, previously exposure to unrelated trauma incidents, and extent of therapy and timing of intervention. It is important to know that the effects of domestic violence can be overwhelming to experience and even to learn about. It is common in someone in an abusive relationship to not recall many aspects of their personality before being abused, especially if they have been exposed to violence for an extended period of time. Sometimes it may seem as if the violence defines the identity, but know the effects of domestic violence are possible to overcome, and it is possible to break the cycle of violence. Recovery from exposure to domestic violence is possible, and although it requires addressing painful reality, it also entails discovering new inner strengths, a process that needs time, space, and safety to begin.
Yeah, like I said, just use all your methods, you know what I'm saying, to get away. Be smart about it. Your abused partner doesn't have a problem with his anger or her anger. He or she has a problem with your anger. That's one of the basic human rights he or she takes away from you, is the right to be angry with him or her. No matter how badly he treats you or she treats you, that your voice shouldn't rise. You know what I'm saying? You shouldn't even get mad. You don't have any privilege, you know what I'm saying, at all. And you don't have any rage to be mad at him, you know what I'm saying? And when your anger doesn't jump out of you, you're going to just sit there and just take it and take it and take it. How much can you take? And abuse can make you feel straitjacket. You may develop physical emotional reactions to swallow your anger, but at the same time, depression, nightmares, emotional numbing, or eating, sleeping problems. Shoot, with your partner, you may use an excuse to belittle your future. You got to be mindful, you know what I'm saying? And you be like, what does he or she, why does he or she do that? Inside, this is inside of a person with an angry mind and that's controlling. Why does he or she do that? And abusers can seem emotionally needy. I need you for this. I need you for that. That's to keep you from doing, I'm almost cursed, things that you want to do. You know what I'm saying? You get caught up in his trap of catering to him and fulfilling him, but he's not so much needing, so entitled to do that much for you. You know what I'm saying? It will never be enough for a person who abused someone. So that's why I gave those numbers out, to get you some help, to call someone when you're ready to make that move. No one can make you move your body until you're ready to move. But when you got kids, baby, look at her. But when you got dang on kids, that's going to make you get up off your tootsie and going to make you move something. You hear me? You might stand a little bit longer when it's just you alone. But when it's your kids involved, baby, you can't tell me you're going to sit there and watch your kids be miserable too. Because as a mama bear, as a daddy bear, we want what? Our kids to be happy if nobody else is happy. Am I right or am I right? Right. Right. You in those bushes, you be sure you share those numbers with a friend who really, really is in need. And you make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Okay? And when Perp gets to 300 subscribers, she will be giving away a man's gift and a ladies' gift. Because I have men's in the chat as well as ladies in the chat. Okay. I also want to say that it's cold outside in some cities and states. Check on your elders and make sure they got electricity or some kind of heat to keep them warm. Please. I'm asking nicely. Also, this is January. We have 364 days to get it right. Let's get it right. Work it out. Perp herself is on that journey that she was telling y'all about. She's on that journey. She started that journey when it was 365 doggone days. You heard me. Already. Also, community news. Perp will start the back to school supplies donation this month. I'm starting this month in January. Last time we started around March, April, somewhere along there for donations, and we did pretty good. We had a good come out. You know, I stay up all night preparing everything for the children. Me and the Vino team members, we get out there and we humped, and it was hot. 109, 105 degrees. We was out in the heat, baby. We was working. You hear me? You know why? We love the community. We love people. We love helping other people. You know, before I get out of here, I just want to leave you, and you with this one note. And I want y'all to hear me. I want you to think about what I'm going to say. Have you ever trapped, has he or she ever trapped you in a room, not let you out? Have he or she raised a fist at you and were going to hit you? Has he or she ever thrown an object that hit you or nearly did? Has he or she ever held you down or grabbed you to restrain you? Has he or she ever shoved, poked, or grabbed you? Has he or she ever threatened to hurt you? Now, ask yourself those questions. You be honest with yourself. Be honest. If the answer to any of these questions that Perp just asked you is yes, then we can stop wondering whether he'll ever be violent. Because guess what, baby? He's violent already. Oh, yeah. He's violent. Very violent. But Perp to get up out of here. But you can contact me at the number going across the screen there. And you can also email me. Okay? And like I said, we're going to start this back to school supply donation. Hey, and we're going to do a good thing for the community. And we're going to take care of our business. And you know Perp love the kids just as well as my subscribers who come to the chat. They love the kids as well as I do. And you know what? Y'all know my motto. How in the hell you going to love somebody when you don't love your damn self? Peace. I'm out. Blessings. Vino Entertainment TV. Vino. June 30th, 2018 was the worst nightmare ever in my life. V-I-N-O. Vino. Peace, love, inspirational. That's Vino.